Well guys, a new expansion pack is on its way to Age of Empires 2, the Dynasties of India. And of course, with the new expansion pack comes a whole host of new features to the game. Things like new civilizations, new units, new abilities, and likely a bunch of balance changes that they haven't even announced yet. Now as more information comes out about the expansion pack, and it ultimately releases, we're going to have plenty of videos about all the new stuff going on in the game. So I encourage you to keep your eyes peeled to this channel for everything new about AoE2. In fact, if you want to, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it if you did, and I'm very thankful for those of you that already have. But in the meantime, there's something else that the Dynasties of India is doing that is new in the AoE2 world. For the first time ever, we're saying goodbye to a civilization. The Indians have been a part of Age of Empires 2 since the release of the Forgotten expansion pack back in 2013. That's nearly a decade ago, so they've been around for a while. But with the Dynasties of India, they're being replaced by the Hindustanis. And that's not just a name change, there's a new unique unit, new features, ultimately a new gameplay approach. So they're very different civilizations. And so in this video, I kind of have a twofold objective. One is, I just wanted to share some Indian gameplay to say goodbye to the civilization, because in a couple of weeks, they're going to be gone forever. But the other thing I wanted to do was spend some time talking about the old Indian bonuses and compare them to the new Hindustani bonuses and the new bonuses of the other civilizations, just to draw out some comparisons, and maybe together we can figure out how the old and new civs will compare. So I think it'll be fun, and that's what the majority of my commentary will be about, is just discussing those civ bonuses and doing some analysis along those lines, right? Briefly, before I get into all that, let me introduce the map. We're playing on Mega Random. I'm in the teal, playing as the Indians. My opponent, Ginger Beard Man, is playing in the red, appropriately enough, as the Spanish. And again, we're playing on Mega Random, so we have no idea what's going on. I'm running around desperately trying to find boar, only to discover that there is no boar. I do figure out, to my credit fairly quickly, that it is going to be all about water control, and so I want to get a dock up as soon as possible. And we'll be talking about naval control a little bit in this video, but for now, let's dive into our analysis. And if we were to look at the Indian bonuses, right, I think that the main bonus that you see with the Indian civilization is the one that the Hindustanis are keeping. The main bonus is their villager discount bonus. So villagers cost 10% less in the in the Dark Age, 15 in the feudal, 20 in the castle, and finally 25% cheaper in the Imperial Age. Now that is a massive food savings. Even in the early game, saving 5 food per villager stacks up. That means that for every 10 villagers, you get 1 free, essentially, compared to other civilizations. Then that's huge because, as you guys already know, food serves as the backbone of your AoE2 economy, right? I mean, food is necessary for your vills and keep your town center running. It's necessary for your research, to tech up, for most of your military units. It's massive. And so being able to save right out of the gate on the most recruited, most built unit in the game, the villager, that's really, really big, right? So the Indians have that amazing bonus, and the Hindustanis are keeping it. But what I find fascinating is even this bonus, which is functionally identical, has a different context between the two civilizations. What do I mean by that? Well, the Indians do love their scouts and their camels, and the Hindustanis will love them as well. But it looks like the main powerhouse unit for the Indians is often their cavalry archers. Now we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but for now take my word for it, cav archers are one of the main units of the Indians, and cav archers are a wood and gold unit. But for the Hindustanis, the Age of Empires devs look to be moving them away from cav archers and toward hand cannoneers. And hand cannons cost gold, and you guessed it, food. So that bonus, the same identical bonus, looks like it will be even more helpful and even more useful for the Hindustani game plan than it was for the Indians. So I think you're getting even more out of that bonus with the Hindustanis. That's a great bonus. Now, another bonus, the other eco bonus that the Indians bring to the table, and I'm actually able to take advantage of this game is that their fishermen are able to work 10% faster. Again, a really nice bonus for getting food going, but in most cases, it is extremely situational. On a map like this, so let's say you're playing islands or a typical naval map, you have a couple of shorefish here and there. You can see I've highlighted them, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You've got a couple, right? But at least in my experience, and I would wager in most of our experiences, we aren't going around with a bunch of villagers, from shorefish to shorefish to shorefish, collecting every last shorefish with fishermen, right? That just doesn't happen. Typically, on a map like this, you throw down a dock, and your dockville will go ahead and gather the shorefish closest to the dock, maybe 2, and then you task them to something else, and that's it. It's a very small bonus in that way. It's nice to have, but not the biggest bonus in the world. The only time that this bonus seemed really impactful are on those maps like African Clearing, where you had small lakes filled with shorefish, and your game plan was to send loads of fishermen from lake to lake to lake, gathering every last shorefish. Now, the Hindustanis do not have a bonus like this at all. This is just, that's gone for them. So that's a nerf for the Hindustanis. That bonus instead appears to have shifted over to the Dravidians, who instead have a bonus where their fishermen and their fishing ships gain plus 15 carry capacity. That's a pretty neat bonus, and I think it is a big buff for that civilization. I don't know about the comparison between the work speed and the carry capacity. I'm not sure how that stacks up. I'd wager it's probably pretty similar, not a massive difference one way or the other. But what I do think makes it a huge buff is that it now works for the fishing ships as well as for the fishermen. Because unlike fishermen, fishing ships do often, their whole point is to go from, not shorefish, but, from fish pile to fish pile to fish pile to fish pile, gathering all the fish that they can, throughout the game. So that is a bonus that is constantly working in your favor, and it makes those fishing ships much more effective. So it's a great food eco bonus, in that case for the Dravidians, and I think it is going to be very strong for them. The Hindustanis do miss out on that, and so I don't think that they're going to be as strong on naval maps. Not just for this reason, but for others that we'll be discussing later on. So those are the eco bonuses. Now, if we were to shift gears and talk about their military bonus, the first thing that jumps to my mind is that their stable units get +1 pierce armor in the Castle Age and another +1 in the Imperial Age. And you can see, true to form, I'm starting out with a dock, and I'm getting scouts out right away to try to attack my opponent, Gingerbeard Man, right? And I have to admit, I did make a mistake, or a mistake in thinking as I was playing the game. I forgot that the Indian bonus does not kick in until the Castle Age. I thought I had the Pierce armor, right out of the gate in the Feudal Age. So I'm going to be a little aggressive with my scouts, thinking, oh yeah, I can soak up, damage much more easily because of the extra Pierce armor, which is not true in the Feudal Age. But regardless, Indians do have a very strong scout rush because they have a better food economy, because their villagers cost less, and because, again, you do have those bonuses coming up. So if you have scouts that, survive into the Castle Age, well, they are able to take advantage of that bonus. They become much more effective at killing skirmishers, way more effective at raiding, because you can dive under town centers, kill villagers, and the TCs simply aren't as effective against the scouts with that extra pierce armor. The arrows don't do as much. It's great. So here I come with the rush. It's going to be neat. Now, the Hindustanis do not get that pierce armor bonus. This is another bonus that is simply gone for the Hindustanis. In fact, none of the Indian civs have that pierce armor bonus. It is true that the Gujaras do get in the Imperial Age a unique technology called Frontier Guards, which will give all of their camels and elephant units +4 melee armor. Just like, I'm focusing on the scouts here. I guess I'll come back to that in a second. Let me focus on the scouts, right? So, the scouts get the +1 in the castle, +2 pierce armor in the Imperial Age. The The Hindustanis lose that. They don't get that bonus. But they do get in the, with their team bonus, they get +2 attack versus buildings. And that's part of their team bonus right out of the gate in the feudal age. So as far as a timing attack goes, the Hindustanis are maybe even better than the Indians were with a feudal age scout rush. Because let's say that you move in, you have a wildly successful attack, and now you're wanting to destroy some buildings. Well, now you can do that way more effectively with your scouts. Or maybe you're trying to break in the first place, knock down some palisade walls, and go on the offense. The Hindustani scouts will have that +2 attack to buildings with every attack. They're going to melt through buildings a lot faster than they normally would. It's a really nice bonus, and I think their scout rush will be even stronger for that, because you don't even get the pierce armor until Castle Age. The extra building attack will help you set the tempo early on, right? Now, you might say, well, what about in the Imperial Age? Because that's the other big bonus, for the Indians is that, well, once you hit Castle and Imperial, you get that +1 pierce armor, +2 pierce armor in Imp. That balances out because in the Imperial Age, the Hindustanis get access to plate barding armor. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner here, you can see Indians did not have that bonus. So functionally, the plate barding armor gives you +2 pierce armor and +1 melee armor. Well, what that meant is that in a late game trash war, you had fully upgraded scouts -1 melee armor. Well, now for the Hindustanis, you're going to have fully upgraded scouts with the melee armor and +2 attack versus buildings. So you go on a massive raid with 50 scouts, you slaughter so many villagers, and now you want to destroy a town center or knock out however many production buildings. You're going to be way more effective at that as the Hindustanis. So I think that their scouts are way more threatening. Probably, I think the one thing you're losing out on is that the Indians do have that kind of a power spike in the Castle Age, where you can pick up the Castle Tech, and then you have +1 pierce armor on top of that. The pierce armor, of course, you didn't have to pay for. Now you do at the blacksmith. So you are missing out on that small aspect of things. But ultimately, I do think it makes your scout rush stronger. Now, I was talking about the camels. The camels work the same way. Again, Indians have +1, +2 pierce armor in Castle and Imperial Age. Hindustanis don't get that. They do get the plate barding armor. They also get 25% faster attacking camels. So the camels will be attacking more frequently. They will be applying their bonus damage more often. They also get the +2 attack versus buildings. That's part of their team bonus as well. Scouts and camels do additional bonus damage to buildings. So camels will be more effective versus buildings. Well, let me back up. Actually, I'm watching the attack here. Let me back up, because the old Indian team bonus was camels did +4 attack versus buildings. Well, that's changed now to, for the Hindustanis, +2 attack versus buildings from scouts and camels. So that seems like a nerf to camels, but the camels are attacking 25% faster, so they are applying that bonus damage more often, even if it is a smaller amount. It might still be a small nerf for the camels, but I don't think that it's as small a nerf as you might expect. And again, they're attacking faster, so that makes them even better as a general unit, or certainly as an anti-knight unit. It's going to make them very, very effective in that regard. And this is where the Gujaras were coming into play that I was talking about earlier. They get this Imperial technology called Frontier Guards that lets them, it gives them additional +4 melee armor to their camels and to their elephants as well. Which is funny because they don't get battle elephants, so it's all like, I guess, siege elephants and elephant archers. But it's gonna be an interesting situation as to which civilizations camels are better, the Hindustanis versus the Gujaras. I'm looking forward to maybe looking at that in a later video. But I think ultimately the camels are probably going to be better as an all-around unit, just a general attacking unit. Maybe not quite as effective against buildings, but I don't think it's as much of a nerf as the +4 down to +2 bonus damage might suggest, again, because of that 25% attack speed. Before I pick up the analysis, let me just dive in here real quick onto the state of the game. I knew out of the gate that the Indians were a great choice into the Spanish. I luckily picked Indians into Spanish, and it was a great choice because if you're playing Spanish, you want to go Conquistador into, Knights. That's the typical Spanish play. Plus, the Indians, you have excellent camels and scouts with extra pierce armor, right? Camels with extra pierce armor, right? So they were just perfectly designed to absorb the pierce damage of the Conquistador. If he decides to go into Knights, well, I've got camels to respond to that. So my typical play, Cav Archer and Camel Rider, is the perfect counter to his typical play. I am really beating him up in the eco, in large part because I am taking much better advantage of the docks, and so he needs to do some real damage here if he wants a chance of winning this thing. But as we watch this attack and the counter attack, and we're going to see my units clash into his in just a second, showing off the power of the Indians. Why Cav Archer? Because if you were looking at the Indian bonuses, you'd say, well, Kaiser, there's really nothing there that's a bonus for Cav Archer. And you're right, but the Indians are one of the only civilizations in the game that had fully upgraded Cav Archers. Thumb ring, Parthian tactics, a full blacksmith tech, all of it. The Indians had it. So for them, Cav Archers were often the go-to for that civilization. This is one of the main ways they will be different from the Hindustani. Why? Well, for one, the Hindustanis, they are losing... let me see, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Hindustanis are losing Parthian tactics, if I remember correctly. They're gaining plate barding armor, but they are losing on Parthian tactics. I'm going to double check that real quick, because I don't want to tell you wrong. But what that means is they are not going to be nearly as effective with their Cav Archers. Instead, yeah, I'm pulling it up here just to double check this. Yeah, they lost Parthian tactics. So that Parthian tactics gives your Cav Archers +1 melee, +2 pierce armor. That means that they will not be nearly as sturdy as the old Indian Cav Archers used to. Instead, one of the Hindustani bonuses is that their gunpowder units gain +1 melee and +1 pierce armor. And on top of that, the Hindustani also get with Shatagni. Shatagni was an old Indian tech that gave their hand cannons +1 range. Well, for the Hindustanis, it's going to be +2 range. So you have beefier hand cannons. They can tank more damage, and they can shoot farther. So far, in fact, that they outrange siege onagers without the siege engineer upgrade. And they they have just as much range as a fully upgraded arbalest. Right? So that makes them just a much more effective generalist unit for, countering, maybe having a response to their typical counters, right? That they're able to deal with onagers. They can actually go toe-to-toe and blow for blow against, arbalest. And that makes them just an extremely effective unit. I'm really looking forward to playing Hindustani hand cannons. It's going to be great. So, you're being pushed in the direction of hand cannons instead of Cav Archer. That's going to be the main difference between them. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Hindustanis, they're able to use that food discount bonus on their villagers much more effectively if you're going into a scouts/camels into hand cannons strategy than you are if you're going into a Cav Archer strategy, right? I think that the Hindustanis are going to be a really fun civ and probably a more effective civilization than the Indians were. Now, I did mention also earlier in the video that the Hindustanis are going to be a weaker civilization on the water. I've already mentioned the loss of the fisherman bonus, which is kind of a shame. I mean, it makes sense, but it is a loss. But then on top of that, they also lose quite a few important naval technologies. You're missing out on heated shot, the university tech that gives your towers and castles bonus damage against naval units. You're missing out on dry dock, which gives your transport ships more carry capacity, and it also makes them faster, if I remember correctly. So you're losing some speed on your ships, and you're losing the heavy demo ship. The Indians had access to all of those technologies, making them a fairly effective naval civ. Hindustanis will lose that. So if you're a big naval civ guy, you're much better off playing, I think it's the Dravidians, if I remember correctly, who have the really strong naval presence. Hindustanis, I mean, they might be able to get the job done to an extent, but it's not going to be nearly as good as the Indians were, right? And I want to say, oh, and of course, I've been focused on the abilities, the unique features of the different civs. We haven't even talked about the Ghulam. We're still waiting a lot of information on that. We know that they're an anti-archer civ, or an anti-archer unit, which is going to be great because I think that archers were maybe one of the main weaknesses of the old Indians. So the Ghulam is going to be a great response and a great bonus to the Hindustani roster. And, of course, Caravanserai. We have to figure out whether the Caravanserai heal all units, and maybe they serve as some kind of immobile monk, or if they focus specifically on just trade units, so that they speed up and heal trade carts, in which case they would only really be used in team games. We have yet to figure that out. I don't know. But I hope I've demonstrated here some of the differences, what we're losing, what we're gaining. This particular game went pretty perfectly. I mean, I ended up taking out 35 villagers with very effective scout raids, cav archer raids, and a great use of the docks. My opponent tried to fight back with conquistadors, but really that was not the play that he needed to make against the Indians. He only ended up getting 7 vills with his conks. So I have a massive economic lead, and I'm moving in with castles to finish him off. And any second now, he's going to call the GG. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the old Indians? Are you going to miss them? What do you think about the new Hindustanis? How do you see them comparing? Right? Again, for me, I think the addition of plate barding armor is huge. The Ghulam is probably going to be a really fascinating unit. And I expect that they're going to have a lot of potential with their hand cannons. I think those are the big changes from the Indians to the Hindustani. But let me know what you think. Any second now, once this castle goes up, he calls the GG. There it is. Good game. Yeah, so please, if you don't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with me what you think about the Indians and the Hindustanis. Share your thoughts with me. I am really looking forward to the DLC. I cannot wait to dive into the new civs and discuss the new changes. We're going to be looking at this conversation all over again from the Hindustani perspective once they release. But for now, this is the Iron Kaiser, along with the Indians, one last time, signing out.